beliefs that you would say are supernatural in nature?
I think maybe when I was a child, but then maybe when you're a child you were a bit more in tune with, if there is something, I don't really know. But
Well, I'd like to think that there's an explanation to everything.
I used to be religious, which, considering my current mindset on the supernatural, is something which I would refer to as supernatural. It's a belief in something that cannot exactly be based in fact nor science.
The term the supernatural casts a wide net across many different concepts. So what I want to look at to determine why people still believe in these concepts is to find out where these concepts come from, their current standing in the modern day, and to see why these beliefs still persist to this very day. Back in ancient Egypt, holding an umbrella inside or in the shade was seen as a form of disrespect to the sun god Ra. That is why today, many believe that holding an umbrella inside can cause bad luck. Celtic pagan culture believed that gods and spirits lived within wood, so that's why many people today believe that knocking on wood gives people a sense of good fortune and counteracts any superstitions with a negative connotation.
I know that this probably won't change the chances of anything, but there is something that feels really, really good about doing these things, about dedicating a lucky jumper, about dedicating, this time it's going to be a 20, it's going to be I think dedicating that kind of element to it gives it more than what it actually is. And I think for us as a people in our psyche, that gives us elements of camaraderie, it gives us so much. I see no point in not believing in, or not believing in, but not having these things, believing in them or not, because they just give you that much more to play with in your day-to-day.
So this next one, a little bit out of the box, but I just want you to tell me what you kind of see when you see this image.
That's alright. I'm just going to look away. I see a hoax. Because that is definitely a picture of Bigfoot, or at least what people believe to be Bigfoot. It definitely looks like a person in a suit. It looks like a person in a suit in a clearing that an animal would not be walking across.
I can remember seeing that when I was a child, Bigfoot. I mean, it looks really good, doesn't it? I think it looks really authentic.
Bigfoot is a large, hairy, human-like creature typically seen in North America. So where does the belief in this mythical creature actually come from? Well, it can come from many places, with the term Sasquatch even stemming from Indian mythology. However, it truly became popularized in 1958, when a journalist by the name of Andrew Gonzoli of the Humboldt Times highlighted a letter from a reader. The reader in question discussed mysteriously large footprints that were found in Northern California.
Yeah, again, another Loch Ness monster. I think it's a piece of driftwood or a part of a boat that is jutting out of the water.
I just think, with all of today's technology and drone footage and stuff like that, something would have been captured.
The Loch Ness Monster is a large-necked, mythical creature that is said to inhabit the Scottish Highlands. The first recorded sighting of the beast was in 565 AD, when Irish minister Columba allegedly saw the beast firsthand when it bit one of his own men. When he saw the beast doing this, he made the sign of the cross and yelled out, "Be gone at once!" The beast then fled, with Columba's men viewing it as a miracle. Now, did this encounter actually happen, or is it just a story stemming from Scottish folklore? There really is no way to know for sure. All that we know is that this is the story that started the legend. Now, despite all of this evidence disproving the existence of these two creatures, it really hasn't changed much when it comes to people who hunt and search for them. Why is that? In the case of the Loch Ness Monster, The legend has a Pacific community tied to it. And then, in the case of Bigfoot, it could be said that it's emulating the early days of the 19th century discovery, when settlers would push through uncharted territory. In Rome, in the 1st century AD, Pliny the Younger's letters were famous for their vivid depiction of the Roman Empire in its heyday. But in one of those letters, he wrote something that was rather peculiar, that not only could be the first ghost story, but the first recorded ghost sighting. As he wrote himself, a large man with rattly chains and a long beard was haunting his house in Athens. Have you had any sort of encounter with the supernatural?
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to elaborate?
Many years ago, when we had a guest house in Quenhill Park, Torquay, we had a man staying with us. He found out afterwards that he had committed a murder and was sent to prison in Bristol. And a few weeks later, we had 2 guests stay with us. They came down in the morning and said, "Sorry, we can't stay with you any longer because I am a medium and we saw this black man in our room last night with lots of gold jewellery on." But it was the same man that had stayed in our guest house and done a runner.
But the question remains, why do so many people want or choose to believe in ghosts? I intend to find out. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Thomas. I am a parapsychologist in training and a lead investigator of my own paranormal team. I come from a very spiritually open family where they weren't too scared to talk about this type of stuff. So I've brought a couple items with me, some scientific and some a bit unconventional. So the first one that I've got is a digital recorder. Now, on the digital recorder, it's very standard. It is just a recording device. Now, in the field of paranormal, there is something called EVP. Electronic voice phenomena. Now, it is said that spirits speak in a different frequency than us. So when you hear investigators do this and you hear a whisper, they're not actually whispering. They could be screaming in the top of their voice, but because of the different frequency that they're on, only this can pick it up because this uses an electric frequency. So carrying on with the more scientific equipment, this is called a REM pod. Probably been around for like 9 years, I would say, but it's still recently new. And what this actually does, it emits its own EMF field. It will cause a beat. So if something breaks that EMF field, like I might have just been too close to it then. That's why it was going off. But if something breaks that field, so you would leave this, say, top of a staircase. I go near it, and you can see those red lights. I know that there is something breaking that connection. And if there's nothing there, that is again unexplainable.
Feels like right on it.
Yeah, the feel that I had. You saw how close I had to be to do that.
What do you think, Jake?
I don't think it's the light because it wasn't picking up.
Well, no, because it has literally. When I say it has to be this close, you see that.
For this next interview, I decided to bring Tom with me because I found someone who has a wealth of knowledge and experience when it comes to the subject of the supernatural.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's John Killian. Most people know me as Flood. I am a paranormal investigator, host of a podcast that covers our investigations called XV Planus. I've been pursuing this stuff actively, like in the field, for like the last 5 years or so, but it's been a lifelong interest for me.
What are your kind of general beliefs?
I know that the phenomena is real. I've experienced too much of it for me to deny it anymore. But as far as like the overall belief about all this stuff, I'm really starting to kind of come back around to Jacques Vallée territory. which is leaning really, really heavy on it kind of takes the human consciousness in order to kind of build this circuit, this connection. And without that element of human consciousness being put into play, the phenomena will not be able to reveal itself.
Out of those incredible unexplained experiences, is there one or two that kind of stand out?
My trip to Waverly Hills, I wanted to run across the creeper. Now, for anybody who's unfamiliar with it, the creeper is this humanoid-like entity that apparently will follow people from a distance. And I'm sitting here looking at the shadows and things start to move, and I'm like, totally the wind. It's got to be the wind. But then after a second, I see an elbow pop into the light. And then I see another one pop out. I'm like, nope, no, absolutely not. And so I Scooby-Doo it. Like I straight up like Shaggy, like you could. I'd let the group get a little bit further ahead. I would lean back. I would just lean back and look over my shoulder, and there it is. There's a lot of other strange stuff that happened that evening that eventually led me to come to find out that I was very, very sick when I was at Waverly. And these things might have been following me because I was kind of getting close to death. I'm going back to the consciousness thing for a second. 10 of us were in the hallway when this creeper first appeared. Only 3 of us saw it the exact same way. Everybody else saw something, but not the same way. 3 of us saw something that looked actual flesh and blood, like a physical being. Another handful of people saw something that looked more like a compacted ball of smoke.
For being exposed to this topic as a whole, through talking to people, for having an event myself, it's hard for me to say now that there isn't something tangible behind some of these concepts. But I can say that all I want. There really is no true way to explain the unexplained, I suppose. But the question still remains. Why do people want or choose to believe in these concepts?
The nihilist in me would say it's the human race's natural ability to extend its own ego.
I think because the human brain just can't kind of get to grips with the fact that life is going to end.
But the hopeful in me would say, doesn't it make it so much more whimsical when you don't know? No certain, substantial, concrete way of determining whether or not they are actually looking for something that is true. However, they are choosing to believe that it is true.
Personal experience, like that's really what kicks it off. It takes one significant event to really light your fire about this stuff, and then after that, it will become an obsession that will destroy your life. I speak from experience. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's probably the best way to put it.